I feel like I've got no business being here after what we've just had. But I also feel like I'm the oldest EFAC scholar in this house. Is there anybody else from class of 2013, 14? No? Okay, so I'm the oldest EFAC scholar in this house today. I joined EFAC in 2010 and graduated high school in 2013, so that makes me 15 years in EFAC. The beauty of being with EFAC is that our stories are similar but unique at the same time. They are all very, very inspiring. I'm very, very inspired by the previous speakers. And mine is not any different. It also begins from a village in Muranga County, so similar lifestyle of not having much money at all, relying on the farm to produce your food and your school fees and your clothes and everything. And for me, I was raised by my parents. Both parents were there, and I was number 5 out of 9 children. So you can imagine how that is like. So that was growing up with hand-me-downs all the time. No new clothes, no new shoes, but we went to school regardless. And my school was the typical public school in the village. I don't know whether you've seen those schools, the ones without windows and they don't have like concrete floors. My siblings were ahead of me and they were doing very well, so tough act to follow. I didn't have an option but to perform very well, and perform very well I did. But I remember beginning from nursery school, I was not doing very well, and I was actually number last at some point. Because in our school, we used to be, those schools where they just line you up, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, based on your exam performance, and at some point I was number last at the end. And if you're not an African mother, you can imagine how that evening was like. Yeah, but I did turn that around, and I performed very well. I picked up as time went on, and I was finally leading in the class. So from last to first, and that's how I got the application forms for EFAC. I think most of our stories here always start with a teacher who brought an EFAC application form to the school, right? Especially those of us who were in the beginning years. So my teacher brought 2 applications for the 2 top students, and I was one of them. I didn't know what I was applying for. I didn't know what I was writing, but we did. And I was the top student in the KCP, and I got a scholarship. And part of this story and the progress and myself in EFAC has got a lot to do with a mother who doesn't give up, a mother with grit, and a mother who wants education, who knows education is literally the only quiver in our arrows as children. We don't have anything else, no inheritance, nothing. So it was my mother pushing and walking long distances to look for those scholarships for money. And when we came to Nairobi for me to go to secondary school, I was to go to a public school in Kiambu Girls High School. And my mother followed up with the application form we had done, and she found herself in Nazarene and came and told me, we are not going to Kiambu, we are going to Nakuru, to a new school where you're going to study, and it doesn't cost a dime. And I found myself in Nakuru, very, very small. Oh my God, you should have seen me. I was very, very tiny, like most of us were at the time, very teeny, shy. And I was looking at the village. I did not know how to speak Kiswahili or English. Kikuyu was the only language that we spoke. We were taught English in Kikuyu. We were taught Kiswahili in Kikuyu. So you can imagine how my R and my L were fighting each other. So I go to this sophisticated new private school in Nakuru, and all the girls are from Nairobi. They have Kiswahili and English. And oh my God, did they laugh at me. I remember some of them telling me, Nancy, stop talking. Okay? That's you. What are you saying? What your R and your N, and it's basically, teenagers being teenagers. And I had the first year in high school was rough. And It didn't help that I had to go for a primary school uniform because none of the uniform would fit me. But my commitment and my desire to perform well academically and the belief that education is the only thing that's going to get me out of the village and differentiate me from the other girls that were with me in school who never had a chance to go to school and ended up married or as maids, or they basically didn't get a prospect. So I kept on and I didn't stop talking. I reduced talking to people so they stopped laughing at me. But in a few months or a few years, I was the best in English. I was the best in languages. I turned that around. I loved reading. I read anything and anything that came across my hands. And being in Vanessa Grant's girls' school gave me a chance to grow organically. It was such an environment where I could come out of my cocoon at my own pace. It wasn't a rush. We were only 42 students when we started in the first year. We were very few. So every teacher knew every student. They knew who did what, how you spoke, how you laughed. So that was the best thing that could have happened to me, honestly, for this little young timid girl who had zero confidence, could not speak, could not stand in front of people. It was the best opportunity for me to come out of that circle, and also the emphasis on leadership and being women of integrity. We had a very good teacher. She really molded us. And then coming into EFAC workshops and meeting other scholars who have similar stories, different places, but we could relate in terms of not having much and making do with what we have and sharing what we've got. We built a community and we supported each other, and we became friends, lifelong friends. So high school for me was, it started low also, performing really, really badly, but by the time I was finished, I was performing very well. And that also had a lot to do with teachers who believed in me and supported me and made me feel like I belonged. Because when you come from certain backgrounds, sometimes you find yourself in spaces and you feel like an imposter, right? So, but when you have somebody who holds your hand, you feel like, oh, I actually belong here and I can actually do that. So I did my high school quite well. I grew in confidence. I discovered myself, and I was ready for the world. I was ready to conquer the world and be. I wanted to be a doctor at the time because that's all I knew. It's all most of us knew. We'd never had role models other than the doctor, the teacher, or the engineer or the lawyer. So for me, it was going to be a doctor, nothing else. I felt invincible because of the grades I had. And one of the curses of being the bright student with the best grades is you cannot go lower. You cannot go you've got to do the top 5 courses. You've got to do the big ones. And for me, I wanted to go to the University of Nairobi. It was the best university. I was not going to negotiate. It was everything University of Nairobi. And I got admitted to do industrial chemistry, but my heart was in the medical field. And part of that was because I grew up seeing so many health challenges in my village. No hospital, never heard of an ambulance. There's just one person who serves as a clinical officer or a nurse who treats everything, including animals sometimes. So, and I had health. I was a very, very sickly child. My mom carried me on her back and walked with long distances to take me to the hospital. So I had that awareness in me, and I wanted to get into healthcare and bring solutions to those challenges that I grew up seeing. So I changed from industrial chemistry, and I had a moment of oscillating because I had grades. I had the grades to go to anything I wanted except to do medicine because it was the best university, so obviously it's very competitive, and I didn't want to go to any other university. It had to be the University of Nairobi. So anyway, I oscillated I moved from nursing, I moved to dentistry, I moved to pharmacy, until eventually somebody told me, there's a course called medical lab, and with that you can do a lot. You can be a lot of things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try that. And that's what I did. So I studied medical lab science and technology at the University of Nairobi. And my entire time at the university, my free time, I spent it with Red Cross. That became my life. I joined Red Cross Club, and we did everything and anything on Saturdays. We went for blood drives, we went to children's homes, we went and cleaned rivers, we went outside and met and mentored, did mentorship. We went camping and had so much fun. So that gave me the life, and it also exposed me to other social issues that need to be addressed for us to be healthy. So being in that environment of community service, giving back, and reflecting on how much I had been given by EFAC and by my community and by everybody else, it molded me to where I am today, where my interest is now addressing social challenges that affect our health. I bought a laptop. I remember that laptop was 12,000 shillings. I started doing online writing because Mary and a couple of the people who had been during the workshops had been telling us, you can do something when you're in school, you can do online writing and make some money and support yourself and support your siblings. And that's how I started, and I never lacked something for myself since I started that. So getting that laptop, doing online writing, I could sustain myself. When my friends were going out, I could also go out with them for lunch and have something else. And I also I started supporting my siblings with that. So I have started paying my sister's school fees through from high school without money, and I'm still doing that now. She's in university. So that was the defining time. I felt like that was the time I came out of the anxiety of not having money for food and for sustenance, and went straight into Red Cross after that. We did a project in informal settlement. We were doing urban empowerment, urban resilience projects, so empowering businesses and women groups and things like that. So I was still thrown into the addressing social issues, but then I wanted to practice what I had studied and my networks and everything. I got a job before I graduated, before I got a license. I got a job in a hospital. I worked there for a couple of years. And the thing is, once you find something you want, the goalpost will always shift. So I find a job in a hospital, I do it for a couple of years, and I'm like, it's not good enough, I need something else. I find another job in another hospital, all through networks. I've never had single jobs. It's all through talking to people and selling myself. And I find another job that's more engaging and more interesting. And then after some time, I'm like, I want something more. So the goalpost keeps shifting. But through this whole time, I kept one thing that I learned from EFAC and from Vanessa Grant Girls High School: the value of giving back to community, the value of doing something extra other than what's giving you money and sustenance. So my friend who is visually impaired started a CBO based in Kwale County, and he invited me to assist him with fundraising, and I don't even know what my position is, but we ran that organization together. It's an organization supporting persons with disabilities. So we do lots of projects on empowerment, economic empowerment, education, health, providing wheelchairs and other assistive devices, name it, food, and the basic. There's so much need, so we do all that. I was lucky enough, I make this contact who now introduces me into the NGO world of quality management systems. So I moved from hospital from healthcare, from delivering healthcare to working with healthcare institutions, which are now, for me, that was bigger because I was now reaching a bigger population across Kenya and across Africa. And I was very, very interested in health inequalities. I was always thinking back to my village that doesn't have a hospital, or the hospital that's there, it doesn't even have medicine. It doesn't have a working toilet or a working sink. You know, those public hospitals that are mismanaged, that are serving populations like mine and my parents and my family. So my interest in health inequalities grew from there, and I wanted now to study more and to grow out of this quality management work. And that's how I found myself applying for masters in 2022. And I knew ever since I was in high school, I was always going to do my masters abroad. I was always going to study abroad. I applied for 7 scholarships in Europe, and I got one. The one I got was Chevening. Chevening is the it's the main scholarship by the UK government that supports potential leaders and change makers within Africa to go study in the UK and then come back and impact change in our communities. So that's how I found myself in Scotland, in Glasgow in particular, studying global health. And for me, this was bringing all my interests together, my healthcare experience and my healthcare interest and my social interest, addressing social issues, things to do with poverty, education, climate, housing, and basic our social well-being. So that's what I studied I was studying for the last 1 year at Glasgow. And I'm very, very interested in working with marginalized population and making sure they are represented in decision-making in social and healthcare well-being. And I'm just 1 week since I came back to Nairobi. And my hope and my desire is to find myself or to be part of solutions, innovative solutions that are bringing change to our communities. My community has given me so much, and I want to continue giving back to that community. I'm working on something with several people to bring innovative solutions to healthcare and address the issues that I grew up experiencing. But for me, the journey has been a journey of growth and grace and mentorship and support from strangers. Oh my God, strangers have taught me the power of community and seeing the humanity in people, seeing beyond our differences and living together as human beings. And that's what EFAC means to me, and that's what I hope all of us are going to keep working towards. So thank you very much. That's me.